Hey guys, so Supergirl bombed, and by bombed I mean this is one of the worst flops in superhero movie history. We are talking less than Morbius. Morbius. It also opened at number 2 behind Toy Story in its second weekend. This is beyond horrific, and there is no positive spin on this situation. This is the second film in the DCU, and it is one of the worst DC flops ever. This is especially shocking coming after Superman, which did decent numbers but had massive hype and really revived the super family as a brand. So what's next? Is the DCU over? Is James Gunn getting fired tomorrow? I highly doubt it. But James Gunn is and definitely should be in crisis management mode right now. We are already seeing new rumors come out about what the next steps for DC are. But first, we have a movie filming right now, Man of Tomorrow, which is a very safe bet, especially if James Gunn just takes the hint and calls it Superman Man of Tomorrow. I think everyone loves David Cornsweet's Superman, and it seems like a big budget, almost Justice League movie, so I think it will do well. Especially now with Supergirl's implosion, he needs to press the Trinity button. Brainiac is also a very cinematic villain, and James Gunn's movies are always colorful, and Superman 2025 didn't really give a Guardians of the Galaxy vibe. My only concern is making Brainiac look a bit too similar to like the Ravagers and the High Evolutionary and Supergirl and that sort of visual design, but I actually have hope because what James Gunn has said is his inspiration is the more campy green look for Brainiac, and also some horror elements from the Absolute Brainiac as well. The set pics also look great. The war suit looks ripped right out of the comics, and it's all practical, which is so crazy. Superman's suit also looks way more refined and less baggy, which is great, and I think James Gunn knows that this has to be his biggest and his best film ever. John Campea, who is pretty unreliable, has said that the Batman may have been cast recently, and it's a name that isn't at the top of our list, but it's a good name. This created a bit of a flurry on Twitter as many people concluded that it was Tom Brittney, which wouldn't be a horrible pick in my opinion. But low-key, what has really spun out of this is random Twitter accounts and influencers suddenly becoming scoopers and leakers and hearing, quote-unquote, that so-and-so actor has already been cast. And I'm gonna be honest, I think that Batman is either cast or close to being cast, but I don't really think anyone knows who it is because James Gunn is pretty good with keeping his close circle secretive and keeping leaks from coming out about DCU projects. But I think it's pretty obvious that Adria Arona is playing Wonder Woman and not Maxima. No one in their right mind would decline a franchise leading role in a silver platter to play a C-list Superman villain. James Gunn has also been teasing Martian Manhunter a lot, and several scoopers have also mentioned his inclusion in the film, which I would have loved, but I don't want his introduction to be in an overcrowded film that doesn't revolve around him in some capacity, because his origin and him joining and potentially leading the League is such a good story to tell, and I don't want them to rush it. But all around, this is a very, very safe bet after Supergirl, and I will give James Gunn his flowers for setting it up perfectly as a safety net. We also obviously have Clayface coming out later this year with a dirt cheap budget and is guaranteed to be spun as a success no matter what it makes. Horror also usually, unlike other genres, has an inbuilt audience that will always take the risk and go see a new movie in the theaters, and 100 million is a very, very doable break-even point for this film. Recent test screening information has also been positive, but take it with a grain of salt because Supergirl also had positive word of mouth. The best thing is that apparently they do go all the way, and there is a point in the film where he goes full Clayface, which was one of my main fears for the movie, especially with this budget. But Lanterns is the project right after Supergirl though, and I honestly don't get the hate. They are obviously still working on the VFX, so cannot show everything, and giving it the primetime HBO branding gives me more hope too. I personally really like the trailers, and this more than any other project so far has the creative team reassuring us again and again and again that fans will not be disappointed, and it is just as much of a comic book show as it is a gritty small town mystery. But we will see. In this case, I could definitely see something unique happening where it's a hit with the casuals but the fans maybe don't like it as much, but it's certainly going to be an interesting situation. As for the actual rumors this weekend, the main headline was the next DC film coming after the Batman Part 2 next fall is supposedly a fast-tracked Bane and Deathstroke movie, which came as a huge shock because I could have bet money that Wonder Woman was going to be the summer blockbuster of 2028, which would be announced at or around Comic-Con this year, a few weeks after Supergirl. But as we know, they don't give her nearly the amount of respect she deserves. Animated show not announced, supposedly fast-track film in early stages, meaning likely not anytime soon. What the hell is James Gunn doing? This is actually disrespectful. Supergirl in the first place should have been a Wonder Woman movie if DC didn't have some weird hate against the character. I have no clue what they're doing. As for Deathstroke and Bane, in typical studio head fashion, the lessons they took from Supergirl were fuck women, fuck female superheroes, let's make the manliest man dude bro movie ever possible, which just leaves me speechless because that means 4 years into the new DC, we will have 3 separate films and 5 separate Batman characters introduced and starring in their own films without a Batman even existing or having his own project yet. Yeah, it's giving Sony and Madam Web, and it shocks me that somehow James Gunn of all people is not using his brain to put that together. There are some positives though, if I look at it on the bright side, because James Gunn recently followed Dan Trachtenberg, the director of the recent Predator films, and a jungle action movie Rambo style with a comic book accurate Bane and Deathstroke fighting in Salvation sounds really fun. And it sounds like it could be a very reasonable budget, give it around 80 to 100 million flat, mainly to include other superhero characters in the mix too, like Livewire, Killer Frost, maybe Sinestro. But actually, knowing James Gunn, it's probably going to be extremely weird niche comedic characters that only he likes, like Radioactive Bear from 1972 or some jokey shit like that. The movie could be great, but maybe not for one of the first 5 foundation projects in the DCU. And I know James Gunn says he wants the priority to be individual projects and stories and not interconnected universes, but fans are trained to expect structure, and after that he's free to do whatever project experimentation he wants to, because the structure and the established main pillars are there. There is no villain without a hero, so I'm not even sure how the movie would work when we have no idea the impact these characters and villains have had on the heroes or the world prior to it. I just hope that this project isn't at the expense of Wonder Woman because they lost confidence in female-led projects. Keep in mind, Wonder Woman 2017 made more money than both recent Batman and Superman movies, and Supergirl's performance in no way correlates to Wonder Woman's ability to sell a major blockbuster, as has been proven. I just have no clue what's going on with James Gunn's vision. This tweet is being used to clown James Gunn, but rightfully so. This seems like the opposite of a plan, more like a random project generator. His current track record of his original Gods and Monsters slate is 50%, and the other 50% are in a nebulous state of production, inches away from quiet cancellation. And here he goes with the Gorilla Grodd and Jimmy Olsen show? Who asked? I get that Jimmy Olsen hasn't gotten the respect he deserves, but Gorilla Grodd just screams classic James Gunn, who has to make every project into his little comedic fantasy, especially with the rumors that they are looking for a comedic actor. Get ready for another Rocket Raccoon, another Drax, another Peacemaker, another goofy James Gunn type character. I am tired at this point. We also just got confirmation again from The Hollywood Reporter that a Mr. Terrific show is in the works, with Alan Heinberg writing the pilot. And this is what we wanted from the start. A show to explore his origins and maybe set up or introduce the Terrifics. This is the only Superman movie spin-off that should have happened before main characters started to get the spotlight, like Batman and Wonder Woman. But instead, we have 5 Superman-related and spin-off projects before Batman or Wonder Woman have even been introduced, which is literally insane. Ideally, the next few years are as follows. 2027, we have Mr. Miracle, the animated show, and the Jimmy Olsen and Grodd show for streaming, and Man of Tomorrow and the Batman Part 2, which are both billion-dollar contenders. Then in 2028, we have Wonder Woman as the summer blockbuster and Bane and Deathstroke as the autumn-winter release. And we get Paradise Lost as a precursor to Wonder Woman, and we also get the Booster Gold show. Then in 2029, we would get Brave and the Bold and Swamp Thing, with maybe the absolute Batman animated show coming out as well. That would be the ideal
real timeline before moving on to other things like Zatanna and The Flash and Justice League in 2030 onwards. The one saving grace for the DCU, the best part by far, is having David Cornsweet locked in as Superman. He is like the Robert Downey Jr. He just lights up the screen whenever he's on it. He is the perfect Superman. He just is Superman to me. And I've never felt like that before about Superman or Batman. His inclusion in projects going forward is going to be a massive selling point. And I have to give him and James Gunn props for hiring him. But he is just perfect. And that's the one thing that is anchoring this universe for the future. Let me know what you guys think.